Finales are very important, and I think many people would agree with me. They either leave an amazing lasting impression on you, or they can completely ruin a well-built story and leave a sour taste on people's tongue forever. As much praise as I give Natlan, it fails to even remotely give a good arc for Mavuika, who was the central character for the finale, with very rushed writing decisions and a villain that felt very generic and was just cool for the sake of being cool. Similarly with Fontaine, Natlan only had a good character moment. Fontaine had Furina/Focalor's sacrifice, and Natlan had Kuchina's beginning of the chant, which symbolized her becoming a warrior. However, Nod Krai has it all. While it's not perfect, I believe this is the best finale for MiHoYo I have seen yet. In the beginning of Nod Krai, I talked about how amazing it was to see more of Traveler's character, and throughout I kept this opinion that Traveler feels like they're actually strong and capable, and they show so much more emotion here than any other region prior. Their talks with the Doctor, despite how much people might complain it dragged out the story, was one of, if not the best part of Nod Krai's finale. Racher had tension, while the Doctor had agency and narrative. The discussion with the Doctor sets up two things firmly in stone. One is who the Traveler actually is. This is the one that is most up in the air for me, not because I didn't like the way it was executed, but because of what it might mean for the future of the story. During Doctor's talk, we get to see a side of Traveler that we never really get a chance to fully explore. Do they want this long journey? What do they really crave? Well, obviously their answer is their twin sibling. They too are frustrated at people always framing them as a villain, or thankless strangers, or a journey where the Traveler spends so much effort into saving just to get little to no answers in return. The Traveler isn't a hero, but a person who wants what they want and helps those that matter to them. I really like that direction, and I hope they keep doing this aspect of Traveler and keeping it constant from now on. Now, let's talk about the Every single moment with the Doctor showed me that there was something done differently in this Archon quest. Basically, his first scene instantly establishes he's the exact thing that Columbina hates. The Doctor, during his speech as a villain and trying to get into the Traveler's mind, talks about connection. He describes the Traveler's relationships with the other Harbingers as them just working together. That their mutual connection isn't one born from friendship and trust, but rather exchange. If there is no benefit, there is no point. The scene works because its purpose isn't really to talk about the Traveler, but set up the Doctor's viewpoint of connection. And while he is right to some point, we are in fact in relationships with the other Fatui members because of our mutual goals. These foundations in where we trust them are built on past experiences and friendships we have forged. That is the part that the Doctor is missing. A very common discussion I've heard from a lot of people is the opinion that if you hate the Doctor, that means he's written well. That's similar to what people say about Mahito. While I agree with that at some points, Mahito, and in this case the Doctor, are written well because they force an idealistic clash with the characters in the story, mainly the case of Columbina, as she is undoubtedly the main character of this story. Columbina's life to this point has been defined by exchange to the point she feels hollowed and emptied out, used almost like a battery. Columbina hates this. She believes in genuine connection where neither side is looking for anything else besides comfort and friendliness. However, the Doctor, as I explained, holds the exact philosophy that tore down Columbina in the first place. Even during his speech about how he thought Columbina was a sister to him, we can tell he doesn't actually mean it the way others would. He sees Columbina as a sister because she can grant him something he craves, godhood. The reason their dynamic is so good together is because this thematic conflict takes place between the two of them. Columbina finally has to move on and be who she wants to be, and to do that she has to fight the Doctor, who is a manifestation of the old ideology she was so trapped by. I think this twist is a pretty decent one. Throughout Nod Krai, there were so much mysteries that we never got answers to. I legitimately forgot some of them. This update answers all those loose ends and connects it right back to Columbina. I think it is lovely that Columbina started her own journey in a way. Without the creation of the Lunatar, Columbina would have never connected with anyone outside of Llama. The Traveler and the rest of the Nod Krai cast would have never even met her, and she would never realize what she was missing all this time. It goes to show how much Columbina has grown as a person since Nod Krai. Alongside that, the cutscene finally gives us an explanation of the song that Columbina held dear to her life. Columbina, who always thought she was destined to be alone, had this song that she seemed to know by instinct. Using the past answers who it's from. It's not from the past Frost Moon sister or any other moon for that matter. It's from Columbina, a reassuring and quiet melody. It's the one thing that showed Columbina of her birth, giving her grounds to this reality. Columbina is who she is mainly because of herself, which I think is very touching. The final battle of Nod Krai is quite literally one of the best finales in the entire game, if not the best. While Fontaine is a masterclass of emotional writing for Farina, Nod Krai's The Doctor performs something that has yet to be attempted in the story of Genshin Impact that I know of, a fight against two clashing ideologies. What makes fights so good in shows like Dragon Ball or Jujutsu Kaisen is that very often it's not just a big fight. While the action is the spectacle that keeps most casual viewers entertained, the dialogue, actions, and everything in between the fights speaks to the inner conflict the characters are often facing. The Doctor throughout this quest has been a character who has shown he lacks the ability to see things as more than an exchange. Everyone around him are tools to be used in proper time. Everything that exists is a code to be cracked, and every person he works with is just an experiment to be watched and entertained by. The Doctor, by exploiting Columbina when she was least expecting it, was able to attain temporary godhood. And even now he's replaced Columbina with a simple machine of his own. That's the simple philosophy the Doctor is presenting. His presence now as a god is the result of his perspective. His actions as a person and the people who challenge that ideal is Columbina and Sandrone.
Is there anything you wish for?
Not really.
Sandrone isn't a human. She's a puppet, a mechanical being with a core that seems to pretend to do the exact same thing a heart can. Her design really reminds me of a maid, and in that sense, a maid is supposed to serve and do orders, to care about and for others. However, in the quests, Sandrone is set up as a character who is very selfish by nature and incredibly expressive despite her status as a puppet. Something a lot of people tend to forget is that at the end of Luna 2, Sandrone and Traveler have a conversation. A story of a man who sacrificed everything around them to try save the world. She asks us a very important question. Do we admire the man who tried to save the world by sacrificing everything, or do we despise the same man for risking and toying with everyone's lives, for a dream that wasn't even possible to achieve in the first place? I think from observing her change in facial expression, her belief is the latter. To her, they are a madman. This is why the line, "We aren't the type of people to do things for others," I think really matters to Sandrone. Because Sandrone was there. Many know by now Sandrone is a model of one of the children in that picture, and if I'm understanding her backstory right, she knew Alan and Renee, and she had to watch their souls slowly burn away. Thus Sandrone has this view set of selfishness for the world results in death. I think because of this experience she had, she's extra careful about the people around her. She was unable to do anything for the people she knew as they faded away, which is why she's the first to jump on questioning everyone's condition. Throughout the lunar quests, Sandrone constantly asks if anything is wrong, if we feel dizzy, or if Columbina is alright. She says Columbina is annoying, but she doesn't try to kick her out of her room. She says that Columbina should stop sleeping in her room, but doesn't force it despite being able to. She said that she despises those who give up their lives for their ideology, nor does she care about the fools who let their delusions take control. The Doctor, to me, are both of these things. Doctor lives and breathes for his craft. He puts himself right on the line for these crafts and has these delusions of becoming a god. Not only that, but the Doctor is a perfect example of using and destroying other people's lives for his own gain. Columbina was about to get all she ever wanted, she was able to return to the moon. Finally, she wouldn't be in danger of being rejected by Teyvat, but the doctor forced Columbina to stay behind and become his tool. He interjected in her life for his own need and his own greed, and affected the people Sandrone cares about.
No one? How nice of you to leave the decision to me.
Sandrone stepped in front of us because she didn't want us to die. What Sandrone did was the opposite of what Renee chose to do, and I find that pretty fascinating. Geniuses should stay alive. After all, they're the ones who solve the problem that the world has. However, here, Sandrone gives that up, making sure that Traveler, someone she can now call a friend, stays alive. She didn't sacrifice anyone else. She didn't even do it to save the world, but rather she only did it to save those she considered friends. The doctor mocking Sandrone and her being alone was more of a projection on his part. As we get shown soon enough, the only one who cannot trust in others is the one who stands in the battlefield alone.
당신 게 아니야.
The reveal of Sandrone's having a fake device works perfectly. The doctor was just saying how much Sandrone couldn't trust, how each and everything that is affected or connected to her must be at arm's length, which is why Sandrone having a fake remote on her takes him by surprise. In his mind, Sandrone must always have had everything controlled by her. Except here, she doesn't. The controller is inside her work, yes, but it isn't with her person, which goes against the doctor's views of Sandrone, while also using it to justify why Columbina was able to be revived, and why the doctor was taken aback by Nicole, Baraka, and Arlecchino. Now for Columbina's revival itself, I really loved it. Columbina's revival is a symbol for how much people are supporting her and being on her side, how much her developed friendships over the course of Nod Krai's story has strengthened, and it's the reason she can live again. Because of Sandrone, Wander, Baraka, Arlecchino, and Nicole, and them all working together, she can fight. They aren't taking anything from her, they're just allowing a friend to protect them and their home. What I adore about the Doctore's finale is the reason the Doctor lost is because he had no one beside him. Columbina had the Traveler, Lauma, Flynn, Sniffer, Sandrone, Nicole, Arlecchino, and Baraka all doing their parts in making sure the Doctor would lose. Their shared work are born from their trust and commitment to one another. They all fought to take back something that was stolen from them, the very soul he took from Columbina and the land they all called home. The Doctor exclaims how only the weak strangle together, yet at the end, he's overwhelmed and defeated by the exact thing he spent his life rejecting. It's quite a poetic ending, don't you think? That was my overall thoughts on Nod Krai's final quest line, and not next week. Next video, I'll be compiling all of my thoughts on Nod Krai as a whole and place it into one singular video. I'll probably take a while to edit that, so I'll see you in a couple of weeks.